Hello, everybody. Nice to see you again. I'm Steve Costello and my colleague, Patience Morevi, here for Wide for Success to talk about, well, all kinds of things. So today we're going to talk about right and wrong, not right in moral terms, but rights and wrongs about arguments. Who's right, who's wrong? Does a forced or a pushed opinion invalidate the person? So if I'm a parent and I push my opinion at one of my children, does that mean I'm invalidating what they feel and what they think? Interesting thoughts. What arguments? Who's to say who's right or wrong in an argument? There's lots of arguments around the state of the economy in the UK is causing all kind of chaos. Who's right and who's wrong? Who's to say? So how are we going to manage this, Patience, when we work with young people in our groups? How should parents be thinking about this? So I'm going to ask you, as a parent, what do you
think? I think it's really. I really like the way you put the question, as in, is it right or wrong, or is anybody right or is anybody wrong? And what I like in this is that I think even that subject is completely wrong. That's my point of view, in the sense of there is no right and there is no wrong. All there is communication and ways of communicating our point of view in a way that will be understood from the other party, and in a way that we also understand the other party. I think it's with everything you are building relationships. And what often is forgotten is there is no hierarchy. There's no hierarchy in communication. Everybody's on the same level. So, how can you actively listen to what your young person is saying? How can you analyze what they're saying and also what is not said but that they want to say? And then communicate from what you've just listened, not from your beliefs, not from what you think is right, not from what you think is wrong, but from only from what information they've given to you. So the best way, in my point of view, to communicate with young people is to really be attached to just that conversation and nothing else around it. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think that is that is the way to go. That is where we should be coming from. I was thinking a little kind of philosophically. If we go back when we first started school, we could go back before that, but let's go back to when we first started school. What happens? They just share their opinions. They share their opinions about what right and wrong, and some of it is important and should be accepted, but some of it perhaps is not. Perhaps sometimes people are invalidated because of the way the values of one person are pushed toward other people. So we can get deeply philosophical here, and it's going to get dangerous, and it's going to take a couple of hours to get through it. So we can't go down that road right now. But let's just think about that. What happens during life? What happens during the process of socialization? We're taken to another where people share their opinions, they sometimes force their opinions. And it's deeply invalidating for a lot of people. So we need to consider that. I agree with you, Patience, although communication should be a complete level playing field where I can share what I feel, what I think, and then let somebody else consider it. Now, an interesting to do this, I was thinking a little ago in relation to something else I was doing with another client about reacting and responding. So think for a minute, how often do we react when something is said? We hear something, it triggers something in here, and pow, we react. And before we know it, we're perhaps shouting, or we're involved in an argument that's nowhere because we just reacted to the person. The other person thinks they're right, and then we get stuck in this vicious circle. Round and round we go, and nobody wins at the end of the day. And we all feel terrible. That is when we react. However, if we consider mindfulness for it, and I can't go into mindfulness on full power mode today, but think about mindfulness responding. So mindfully responding to something is hearing what's said, not matching against anything we may feel inside, but hearing what's said, and then responding what's said by asking questions or looking for clarity. We still might decide at the end of the day, well, actually, no, that's not for me. But if we responded mindfully, we're not going to have exploded. We won't turn the world upside down between two people in a relationship. So responding is powerful. And I think it's something that we can do some exercises on with groups in the near future. So how does that fit with you?
I think exactly what you say is so right. And one thing that you said that I think is crucial into the communication is not matching, not matching. So basically, there's a fine line, I would say, into matching energy, which you come into a conversation or communication. And often, if someone is coming towards you aggressively, so often with young people, they don't know how to show their emotion or how to communicate their emotion in a way that is going to be positive, if we can say it like that. So they might come at you as a professional or even as a parent in an aggressive manner, maybe in a violent manner. But the idea is to not match that energy and actually come from, as much as we can, a neutral stance. Like Steve said, using mindfulness to kind of understand ourselves is the way we're going to be able to gain strength and then be able to respond appropriately with young people. But in another way as well, and that's where I was saying that it's a bit of a controversy, but basically sometimes you need to match energy, and sometimes you need to go in an empathetic way and go like, oh, I might not understand all that you are going through, but I understand that right now is a difficult time for you. So what this does is that it brings the other person to be like, oh, this is an ally, not an enemy. And I will put this in quotes, but this person is actually understanding and trying to get a little bit of what I'm feeling and understand where I'm coming from, and not going full war and like, oh, you shouldn't be this and you shouldn't be that, and why did you do that? I think not going into that kind of thing. So basically, recently, Steve, I was on a retreat, and in the retreat, there was a mother and a daughter. And then we went on to some discussion. In the discussion, the daughter started to cry, but that was in a workshop about mindful journaling. And she started to cry because she could see things that she's experienced that she was thinking of, but didn't really quite linked everything together. But at that time, it clicked. The mother then had a discussion with me and was like, I've been trying for so long to tell her about this, but she could not hear it. But when you said it, she heard it. And the only difference is not the information that came out, is the way the information was delivered. So I think that's important.
Yeah. There's a really great exercise. So I'm going to share it because it's short and sweet. And it's talking about energy. So this is a thing that Patience was talking about a couple of minutes ago, energy. So just think for a moment. about something that makes you feel good. Anything at all, it doesn't matter. It could be eating chocolate cake, it could be skateboarding down the high street in places you're not supposed to skateboard. It doesn't matter. Think about something that makes you feel good. And just feel it. Just think what it feels like for a minute. What does that feel like? Just notice it. Not analysing it, you're not judging it, just noticing. And now, once you've done that, think about something that doesn't make you feel so great. So, for example, I mentioned arguments with a parent, for example, if you're a young person, or arguments with a young person if you're a parent. Think about what that makes you feel like. Notice the energy. Notice how you feel. Notice what happens to your body. Do your shoulders drop? Your hands tighten? Do you clench your fists a little bit? All kinds of things happen. Notice it. Just notice what it feels like. And be aware of it. When you go into a situation, try and notice the energy. Try and pick up on the energy from the other person. Empathy is what also patients mentioned, empathy. Try and notice energy coming from the other person. We're all amazingly good at that. Often we don't realize we do, but we're amazingly good at it. So that's a really short exercise. Just notice the energy and get used to feeling what the other person may be feeling. You're not making judgments. You're not measuring them against something or other. You're just noticing energy that comes from them. And I think if we can all do that, be aware of one another, it makes those difficult discussions, debates, whatever you want to call them, just a little bit easier. And we can make them a little bit easier, we're going to get better results for everybody concerned. I can think of some arguments that go nowhere. Absolutely gone nowhere. Why not? Because you've got two people who are knowing each other. They're just forcing their own opinions, and that doesn't help anybody at the end of the day. Patience, would you to wrap this up?
I think that's a lot for today, in terms of like tips and advice. But what I would maybe end with is that there is no right or wrong. There is just a work in progress. So, so if you feel like this time you did not succeed into communicating in a neutral way, if we can say it like that, you could always try again and keep on doing like the few exercise or the few tips we've given you today. And then if you really need the help to sustain it, you can always contact us at Wired for Success. You can speak to Steve, who will give you a lot of advice in terms of like even mindfulness and on a psychological level. You can talk to me as well. We've understanding a little bit more about your mindset and where to come from. But together, we can support you in creating, I would say, a sustainable future. So life is not linear. Life is like circle up and down, and we are here to help you in the up and the down. So
Thank you.
yes. Thank you so much, everyone.
And as Patience mentioned, our contact details are down there. So you can see them at the bottom of the screen right now. Make note. Don't hesitate. And please remember that everything is confidential. So if you ask a question, if we share your story together, we talk about how we can help, it's not going anywhere else. So please remember that it's important. And the same goes for parents as well. Parents who need to talk, same thing. They have the same right to confidentiality as all young people do. Okay, we'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. Don't know what we're talking about yet, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.